Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160, and Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and joining me as always is Big Bro Johnny O.
How's it going, little bro?
Doing good. What's up, man?
Not much. Ooh, that was the little whistle there. Maybe you heard.
You were trying to whistle earlier. Your teeth.
I was my retainer. If you guys hear any Mac whistling this episode, like from the It's Always Sunny episode, and that's why. But how's it going, little bro? How was your week?
Pretty good. I realized mere hours after I was like, oh my God, dude, Duke is gonna win it all. Like, they're the only basketball school left. They choked hard.
Choked hard.
I was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they choked away a nice little bet for me that I thought was going to be cashed. But it's cool. Made it back on Florida the next day or 2 days later.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So I think that we still got that right for the pod. You know, I think we called Florida the favorites.
I don't know if we did or not, but I'm going to claim it as a win.
Let's claim that we did.
Okay.
Definitely.
No one's going to go back and check us.
No.
What else is going on with you?
So much. My volleyball team finally got a win.
What do you mean, finally? I thought you guys were good. I thought you were going to win the city.
We are good, Zach. We are.
Okay.
But we had lost 3 games in a row, just heartbreaking 3-game matches. You know, it's best of 3. So we'd lost 3 games in a row in heartbreaking fashion. Last game of the regular season, and it was a home game. We finally got a dominant win. So now we're going into the postseason tournament with some good juju. Although we do play the best team in the league in our first 16-team tournament. We drew the team that I would not want to play against. So next game's on a week from Monday. So the webheads won't get to hear about it next week. They'll have to wait 2 full weeks to hear about how my team did in the postseason tournament.
Hey, win this one, and the rest is a piece of cake.
Yep, 100%, Zach. And you know that team has championship aspirations. They may be overlooking that first round game just a little bit. You know,
that's right. You can play the spoiler.
If we can come in with like just a better energy than the other team does. You know, if we come in with championship level energy and they come in with, you know, sleepwalking through the game energy, well, we've got a chance.
Why can I already see you coming in with a tape measure and being like, hey, do me a favor, go stand on the other edge of the court. Hey, let's see how high this net is. Yep, it's the exact same as what we've been playing on all year.
While we've been losing and while we lost to this team earlier in the year.
Irrelevant.
Well, I did think about going in and doing the I'm definitely going to do some of the miracle speech.
Okay.
You know, this is our time.
You know, I was referencing the Hoosiers speech.
Well, yes, and I thought about, it's a Catholic school, right? So I thought long and hard about should I have one of my kids read the Bible verse that they read in Hoosiers? It's just like a really quick one. Do you remember what it is?
Not at all.
I don't remember the verse either, but it's whatever Bible verse, and that it's just...
Is it Philippians 4:13, every athlete's favorite verse? Is I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength?
No, but it's funny. No, it's not. It's just the assistant coach says, and David picked up the stone from his bag and hurled it at the Philistine, or you know, it's it's just a short David and Goliath speech. But I was like, oh, I can't, because the kids watched Hoosiers in one of their religion classes this year.
They watched Hoosiers in a religion class
after Gene Hackman passed away.
Dude, that's just the teacher doing whatever they want.
Well,
that's also the most Indiana thing I can imagine.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I love that.
And on the 7th day, God created the Milan.
God created basketball.
What's their... It's not the Hickory.
Milan is the real school.
Right.
The Hickory
Milan
is the school in Hoosiers.
Tigers, right? That's their mascot?
I think so.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to. We've had a lot of volleyball stuff going on. You know, what have you been up to, Zach? Have you and Shyla been feeding the homeless or doing anything amazing like you guys always do?
No, dude, we've actually been on a path of debauchery and destruction.
You actually been taking food from the homeless.
Yeah, we're trying a new thing. It's called arson. Kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
No, dude, pretty much nothing's going on. Yeah, I took my coworker to his first hardcore show last week. That was fun, you know.
Did you guys injure each other in any way?
We didn't injure each other.
Okay.
I cut it up a little bit on the dance floor, you
Love
know.
it.
Had to show little bro how
you
it was
cut a
done.
rug?
Yeah, a little bit.
Was this ska dancing? Were you skanking?
No, dude, this was like hardcore dancing.
Oh, okay.
This might be a little TMI. My stomach was doing crazy stuff all day, and I took a spin kick right to the gut, and I'm so glad I didn't poop on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
It went really well. He was like amazed. It's always fun bringing a new person into that environment for the first time.
How did you take a spin kick to the gut?
Because a dude was spin kicking and I was on the edge of the pit. Duh.
Wow. Well, obviously your gut health is pretty good to be able to take that.
I'm proud of myself.
So thanks to our sponsors, AG1, for hooking us up, helping to promote gut health.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got? Anything? Lots of TV shows to talk about at the end of the issue episodes.
We are like not making any progress on any one TV show because we keep starting more and more.
We're making good progress. We're not the ones who are filming these shows. We can't help it when they all come out.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm saying Shyla and I, like last night we realized that SpongeBob is on Amazon Prime now, and she never got to watch SpongeBob as a kid, so we're watching SpongeBob, which means that we're not watching something else we were already supposed to be watching.
Well, new Black Mirror season just dropped, which begs the question, Zach, technology bad?
Question mark? To be determined?
Yeah.
What if your mom was a computer?
What if your mom was a computer?
I saw some
I remember that. That tweet.
I saw some tech bro on Twitter that's possibly a bot. Who knows anymore? He was like, this guy loves crypto. He loves AI. And he's like, we should have a show called White Mirror where it's about how much technology makes our lives better. And I'm like, just, dude, get the hell out of here.
There's some okay episodes in this season, Gosh, sometimes they're so damn sad for no reason, Just once, I'd like my main characters to get a happy ending in this show, but oh well. That's not really a spoiler. That's how every Black Mirror episode is.
Right. Well, famously, the couple that I've watched, and I loved, by the way, were the like love story ones where the people end up together. It's like the simulation one, and then
the dating app one. That's kind of a good one.
Junipero. Yeah, that's what I meant. The dating app simulation.
Yeah. Well, that's different. That's different from the San Junipero.
I know. I'm saying both of those.
Yeah.
Both of those episodes I loved so much.
But Peter Capaldi, I texted Zach already. Peter Capaldi's in an episode this season, and it's awesome. I'm definitely biased against that episode for sure because I'd watch him in anything. But the second you see him, you're like, is that Peter Capaldi?
Is he like a main guy or is he just cameo?
He is a main guy, and he's doing his classic thing where he's, he's kind of like a crazy old man who just knows more than everybody else, and he's just explaining things, throughout the episode. It's a vintage Peter Capaldi role.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Do we have anything?
So there's another one for you and Shadow to watch. Got that out of the way up front, so we didn't have to talk about it at the end.
Dude, I don't know if I could even get her to watch it. I don't know that I could sell her on something that's like a little serious and a little dark and negative and scary.
Yeah. Well, rhinoceros actor Paul Giamatti stars in an episode.
All right, let's go. Is he a rhino in it?
He's they never say for sure. They never
Okay.
say he's not. So
I'll
and
assume he is.
it is Black Mirror. So what if your mom was a rhino? Let's see who else is in it. They did get some actors. The guy from It's Always Sunny, one of the Milk twins, is in an episode.
Sure.
You will call me. Yes, it's that one. That's the one that's in it. God, my brain's starting to go. What's their name? What are
The
those
McFoyles.
The McFoyles. Yep. There's some good ones. Probably worth a watch. But no, I don't really have anything else. What do you have?
I don't have anything.
Awesome. Let's get into it. Episode 102.
All right. But first, a word from our sponsor.
AG1.
All right.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right. Getting into Ultimate Spider-Man 155. This one is written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Chris Samney, so we got a fill-in artist, colored by Justin Ponzer, and lettered by VC's Corey Petit.
I could tell right away that this was not an artist. I was like, Peter looks different. Peter never looks like this.
He is an artist. He's just not an artist that we've seen before.
I said a different artist, didn't I?
You said not an artist.
I could tell why this was drawn by not an artist. This guy shouldn't even call himself an artist.
How'd he get this job? Wow, coming in strong with the harsh criticism.
Chris
I like
Samney,
it, John.
defend yourself on this pod if you dare.
All right. So we open on Peter getting fired from his job at Burger Frog. It feels reminiscent of him getting fired from Joe's Pizza in Spider-Man 2. You know, you're unreliable, Peter.
Yeah.
Apparently he didn't show up for 2 days because he was out Spider-Manning.
If you no call, no show, you're going to get fired. Should have just said he was sick.
I really wish this had happened right after the incest twins stole his identity, because that would have made so much sense of why he didn't go to work for 2 days if he was tied to a chair.
Well, what was just happening for Peter?
He says, I was out saving the world with Iron Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said that. And I was like, what did they do again? I don't remember. Was this a doctor? Was this the Reed Richards thing?
No, it was the Black Cat and Mysterio thing.
Oh.
With the MacGuffin.
Yes. Where's that now?
Iron Man has it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's probably a good steward of it.
The safest hands are Iron Man's.
Right. He definitely won't try and study it and create Ultron with it or some Okay, so he gets fired and he walks away and feels like a complete loser. He's like, oh man, I needed a job. And he gets a call on his cell phone, and the voice on the other end says, Mr. Parker, this is J. Jonah Jameson. You and I should have a talk. Peter suits up and swings over to the dailybugle.com headquarters. And as he's in the waiting room, he thinks, oh my God, I forgot how much I love it here. And Ben Urich walks by and says, hey kid, you look good. You get a haircut? And Peter starts to say, actually, my girlfriend, well, my ex-girlfriend, and Ben just keeps walking and says, good seeing you. I thought that was so funny, John.
Yeah. Who has time for these kids?
I felt that on like a personal level as the frequently awkward kid that didn't know how much of a story to share to someone or how much someone cared and was constantly just getting like blown off.
The only thing that could have added to this is he should have said, that's awesome. Great seeing you. Because that's what I say to any of the kids when they try to like stop me in the hall to tell me something. I'm like, that's awesome. Okay, see ya.
Yeah. Yeah, I have been in that situation too many times that seeing it on panel in a comic book is just very funny to me. And Peter gets invited into Jonah's office.
This
Jonah's
is setting up perfectly for Peter to get a job. You know, Jess lost his job. He's like, oh man, I need a job. Then J. Jonah Jameson calls him and he's in the Daily Bugle and he's like, I forgot how much I love it here. It's like, okay, well, you should be working as a photographer for the Daily Bugle. You're Peter Parker.
Web designer.
Classic web designer.
Especially since it's a website now.
Yeah.
And Jonah says, so you're probably wondering why I called you here. And Peter's like, yeah. And he's like, why do you think I called you here? And Peter's like, why do I think you called me here? And Jonah's like, if you had to guess. Peter's like, I'd rather you just told me. He's like, I'm curious about your guess. Jonah is here. He's playing games.
Well, I was reading this and I was like, this is how you should talk to a kid when you call them into their office. This is exactly anytime I have to talk to a kid because they're in trouble, I always call them in and I'm always like, why are you in here? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, guess, you're the one who's in here instead of over at recess. Why do you think you're in here?
I want to hear it from you.
Yeah.
It feels like the cops, you know why I pulled you over today? See,
why don't you just tell me?
We're on different ends of everything so far that we've related to. You're like, man, I do this all the time. And I'm like, man, I hate when this is done to me. And Peter's just playing coy. And then Jonah's like, I was just curious about what kind of person you think I am. Peter's like, I don't know. I guess my answer is you're a very complicated person. And Jonah's like, good answer. It's a lot of fun because we haven't really seen Jonah get to be Jonah in a while.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
He's playing it close to the chest. What is even happening here? It's really building tension for the scene. And Jonah says he and Peter have a shared experience, and so he feels connected to Peter. And obviously what he's referencing is when
the incest twins.
They kidnapped them both, and Jonah found out Peter was Spider-Man, and then he got shot in the head.
Yes.
And to remind us that that's what he's talking about, he removes his hat, because he's wearing like an old newsman hat, fedora, I think. And he removes it and shows Peter the scar on his head where he was shot, and he says he should be dead. He says he's met...
Yeah.
No, you go on.
He says... the doctors told him 3 centimeters to the left and he'd have been dead. And I immediately thought, that's a lot of space. That's not that close. Considering you got shot in the head, that's like, that seems far away from where.
Right. Like that's
you didn't get that lucky, Jonah.
That's like a comfortably safe distance. He later also does say it's a miracle that he's alive, so I don't know. I choose to not read into it.
If you get shot in the head, yeah, it's a miracle, probably.
I mean, here's the deal. If you get shot in the head, regardless, like, if you don't immediately get treatment, you're going to die. Like, he could have bled out even from where he was shot.
Yes.
He says he's met all kinds of people, but never met anyone like Peter. He's like, you're Spider-Man. And Peter gets visibly nervous and is like clutching his backpack, which is a great little detail because we know that's where his Spidey suit is. And Jonah's like, don't worry, I'm not going to out you. If I wanted to, I would have already. God knows I could have made a fortune and sold 1 million papers doing it. He says
he could have made a fortune.
He says he'd sooner cut off his own hand than betray Peter, but he feels like that's not enough to repay his debt. And he asks Peter to name anything he wants and promises to deliver on it. And Peter's like, could I get my job back so I can save up for college? And JJJ is confused. He's like, you're Spider-Man. Why would you want to go to college? You don't need that. And Peter's like, well, it doesn't really pay the bills. And even if it did, that's not the point. And Jonah's like, awesome, college. I'm very rich. I'll pay for your college. And Peter's like, no, that's not what I was even hinting at.
But it would solve a lot of problems, Yeah,
Peter, if I was Peter, I would not be fighting this.
No way. That worked out great.
Yeah, but, that Peter Parker, I mean, it's the exact same as, oh, Mr. Osborn, that's very nice, but I like to make my own way. I think he says that exact line. He's like, I like to make my own way.
Earlier in this, he says that? Earlier in this run?
No, I'm referencing the first movie. I'm conflating different versions of Spider-Man here.
Okay.
But it's still like a good trait across mediums that the character has.
Yeah.
He's that rugged individualist, John. That's why he'll never vote Democrat.
Yes. God, I always knew Peter Parker was a big Trumper. And now Zach has confirmed it.
Yeah. And they eventually settle on Peter's going to get his job back, but it's going to be a higher pay, and he's free to come and go and miss shifts as needed because he's out Spider-Manning.
J. Jonah Jameson says, your $2 an hour job, surely that's not what he actually makes. Like, he must be using hyperbole. Or do we think he actually makes made $2 an hour? I mean, that'd be like below the minimum wage at the time.
Yeah, John, you and I have worked a job that makes below minimum wage. What are you questioning here? There's loopholes. I would not put it past
sales.
J. Jonah. That's right. You were a lot better than me. I would not put it past J. Jonah Jameson to underpay a minor.
That's true. But ours was also because it was like a commission-based sales job, right? I wonder if Peter's making commission on these website developments.
Well, dude, I mean, this is a tangent, but what else is new for this podcast? I once had a job that was like a Christian summer camp that I had gone to every year growing up, and I had good memories of it, right?
What's it called?
I'm not going to put them on blast like that, but it was...
Okay.
Have you been?
No.
Okay, didn't think so. But this is like their business plan, right, for staying alive, is the kids that go there every year want to work there on the program staff and be the lifeguard and run the zip line and play games with the kids. And they're like, awesome, we'd love to have you. It's a salary job. You make $2,000 over the summer, but we're not going to really keep track of your hours. You just kind of have to be here whenever we need you, right?
Oh, so you end up making just
it's
hourly.
It was like I would be in at 7 a.m. and I wouldn't get home until 10 some nights. And I was working like 5.5 days a week.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, so when you do the math, it came out to like $2 an hour.
So maybe Peter is on a salary and he's just being overworked and underpaid.
That's what I'm saying. Or he could be classified as a consultant or like a contractor. I mean, there's many ways they could have done this.
An unscrupulous businessman, J. Jonah Jameson, probably figured those out.
It's a savvy businessman. He's kept a newspaper alive in the digital age for how long?
That's true. Peter is, famously not in red and blue at all. He's actually in green and purple. So, maybe he looks like the Hulk a little bit, or this maybe could even be a Norman Osborn, like, color coding, because Norman's colors are green and purple, right?
Well,
he's just in his burger. He's just in his Burger Shack outfit or whatever.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
actually, never mind.
He came straight over from the job that he just got fired from. That is it.
I forgot.
I just checked again. I was like, who's the colorist on this? It's Justin Ponzer. So if he's been intentionally making Peter wear reds and blues this whole time, he didn't just switch it up randomly.
Yeah.
Or I thought maybe it was like a different guy doing it. Anyways, so they decide Peter's going to work for Jonah again, but everything he does as Spider-Man, he's going to report back to the Bugle so they can write a story on it.
This is kind of funny. Jonah is like I'm all about Spider-Man now. I owe you my life. I'm writing nice things about you. Maybe you could tell. But he does still have framed in the background the newspaper Spider-Man Menace. So he hasn't so changed that he's taken down that, or maybe it's up as a reminder to be better.
No, dude, I think it's the first one. I think he already had it framed.
Definitely. Oh, it was definitely already framed.
And he just kept it. That is a very funny touch. I didn't notice that. Earlier, there was another one that was framed that I was trying to make out what it said.
I think it said Man on the Moon.
Oh, he's been doing this a while.
Oh, only because it says man on the, and then it's cut off. So I just assume it said Man on the Moon. But it might not have, right? It might have said Lizard Man on the Queensboro Bridge or something. Goblin man on the bridge, goblin lookalike.
Anyways, so they shake on it, and Jonah says, "Welcome back to the Daily Bugle. Now get the hell out of my office. I've got a paper to run. I mean it. Out." So another good, fun reminder that Jonah is more Spider-Man friendly, but at his core, he's still the same character, and we love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice little scene with Jonah there.
And if it feels like we're making a lot of callbacks to things in the past, or we're resetting to a place that could have theoretically been at any time in the series, it's because we are, and that will continue in this issue and the next one. And I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So now we get another blast from the past. We cut to a robbery. And John,
These are my f***ing boys!
Say that again with the same energy and lower volume, just in case that doesn't pick up.
These are my f***ing boys!
I put this in all caps. I said, it's the Rollerblade guys.
Twice as sweet as money earned, baby!
Twice as sweet as money earned. And then I said, Kitty is back! She stops them!
I know.
All of this is all caps.
Yeah, this page brought a smile to my face, that's for sure.
I was so happy when I saw it. And one of them is dressed like Rex Splode.
Dude, he is. That's exactly what he looks like.
Another one's got stupid...
And the other one is shirtless with like a kilt on. One of them is in like a superhero costume, as Zach said, and the others they're just dressed so sporadically. This is not a team. It doesn't look like.
The one that you're talking about looks like Quentin Quire from the X-Men, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. I literally looked at that and I was like, is that Quentin Quire? It's probably not, but that's like the design. But yeah, they just blew up a bank and they're roller skating away and they're like, let's go, like we practiced. And I love how they applaud themselves as they're escaping, just like before. They're like yelling, booyah, and stuff. These guys are radical.
I'm not sure if they had said twice as sweet as money earned. I don't know. Maybe it's better to just let us think that, maybe they don't have to say it.
Yeah.
It's like Captain America's great line of I can do this all day. At a certain point, you don't need him to say it anymore. We don't need these guys to say it anymore. Yeah, we're all thinking it.
I just am so amazed that here we are, like 5 issues left, and we thought we would never see these guys again. And they just snuck them in there.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're on the run with their money, and all of a sudden we see the scary Assassin's Creed looking red cloak
that we know is Kitty Pryde.
We now know is Kitty. We haven't seen her in a minute.
Seen her in so long. Yeah, last time we saw her, she like blew up a building and like reporting trucks or something, right?
She phased into the sewers and escaped being taken under arrest at school, and her and Kong were on the run.
Yes.
So Kitty obviously f***s these guys up very easily. And Peter swings in as well, and he kicks them in the face and does a few quips. And then he looks over at Kitty, and he's like, Kitty, please come on. We're friends, Kitty. We're friends. Mm-hmm. And this scene Dude, I love this issue a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. One of my only gripes, if not my only gripe, is this scene's dialogue should be so emotional. The way he's saying it, it seems like he has a lot of feelings, and maybe she's expressing something like resentment, or like she's going to run away. And we can't see either of their faces. This is like one moment where, you know, the MCU thing where the heroes always have their masks off. It just would have been a little helpful.
Yeah. Well, we do get some eye emoting, you know.
The Spider-Man eyes are kind of closed a little.
Yeah, you know, it looks, you can kind of tell what his emotion is. And I didn't actually realize this the first time through, but she is like phasing back into the sewer as he is like calling out to her to like stop, you know.
Oh yeah, I didn't catch that either. I thought she was further away. I thought it was like a forced perspective kind of thing. But you're right, she's trying to phase back into the ground, and he's telling her to not and to stay with him.
Yeah.
Anyways, that one page is just a little unclear about the tone, and then it kind of sharply cuts, like an awkward hard cut to the very next page.
It's almost like Bendis was just like, I'm kind of sick of this relationship. I'm sick of this, like, Kitty's not part of the group, and let's just wrap this up, right? Like, Kitty, please stay. Okay, now they're friends walking home from the fight together. You know, no big deal. We're back where we were 50 issues ago.
That is exactly what it is. We are wrapping up these loose ends, and I'll just say it now. The point of all of this, the point of the issues that you and I are reading today, is they have announced at this point the next story is called The Death of Spider-Man, and the series
this story now is called that, you know?
Yeah. And it's been out, it's on the news, people are aware of it. I think at this point, it even blew up beyond like the comic book community, you know. I think it kind of went viral, and it was, you know, being talked about on like mainstream news outlets. And so they know people who maybe read early on in the series and had fallen off, because the sales had fallen off at this point. I mean, it lasted a good 10 years, but nothing ever does that and stays as popular as it was. They know there's going to be people who maybe got 30, 40, 50 issues in and then don't know what's happening, don't know who some of these characters are confused, you know, why is Peter dating Gwen, or why does he look like this? They have to get back to a place that's comfortable for readers at any point in the series. So where's Peter work? The Daily Bugle. Who are his friends? Oh, we know that they're the same people that have been in the book the whole time. Who's he dating? There's like one ideal relationship that he keeps coming back to, that everyone's going to expect him to be in. And so we've got to get all of these dominoes in line before we actually start the story that's called Death of Spider-Man, which actually starts with your issue that you're going to cover.
Well, it's funny that you are like, you're right that is what's happening. They're like reintroducing this world that everybody knows how Spider-Man works. But what they're also doing is they're like, Peter's so upset he doesn't have a job. Let's give him his perfect job. Peter's upset because he hadn't talked to Kitty, right? So let's make Kitty come back. Now Peter's happy Kitty's coming back. Oh, he and Mary Jane are going to start dating and fall in love again. Let's make Peter's life perfect, and then we can kill him.
Sure, it's the Parker luck.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about it before, but it's what did we call it back in like episode 10 of this podcast? Like the Peter Parker Spider-Man
like
fluctuation
or spectrum or something.
Yes, I think it was the happiness spectrum. Yep.
Like
if Peter Parker is as happy as he can get, well, that means Spider-Man's dead at this point. He got too much, you know.
Sure. You got to have the, you know, perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the story. Peter and Kitty, like John kind of said, are walking together in their civilian clothes. And I said, Kitty is a scene kid now. She's dressed like she's listening to Attack Attack and I don't know, The Devil Wears Prada.
Well, and she's like, I'm such a goth cliche. Not really. She doesn't have an ounce of like black on her. She's in like the brightest pink and blue, like purple outfit I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that's not what I would call goth.
No, she's a scene kid. I'm well versed in like the different Hot Topic strands. This is like the neon years, right? She's in purple and a white belt and the black and white long gloves.
What's a scene kid? I'm not a music guy like you.
Like this, like the tight jeans and the bright colors.
But I mean, why is it called a scene kid?
Swoopy hair. It's just different, right? It's like inspired by, this is so fucking dorky. It's like inspired by like metalcore and post-hardcore, and it was on the Warped Tour circuit and everything, but it's just not quite the same. Like those original scenes don't respect the scene kids.
Yeah.
They had a lot more like
posers.
They had like synths, you know, and it would be like screamy music, but also, oh, we like to party and be silly too.
Yeah.
It was very big around the time that this was published.
Speaking of dorky, I let a little bit of my like dork nerd out last night when I was out drinking with some of the other teachers because somebody brought up Hot Rod and I just couldn't resist. I had to be like, oh. My buddy and I went to Comic-Con and he had like a full-on homemade Hot Rod costume. It was awesome.
Did you show them pictures?
No, I didn't. I you know, maybe I should have, but that would have taken too long. Pull out my, you know.
For anyone who doesn't know, Hot Rod is a 2007 Andy Samberg movie that you need to stop listening to this podcast.
It's so good
right now and go watch.
Yeah, it's got Danny McBride. Like before Danny McBride was famous, really. I think that's like awesome.
Yeah, funniest movie I've ever seen. Right hand to God.
Probably it's up there. That Out Cold and like Zoolander, I'd have to put in, if I was making like a list of the funniest movies ever, those three would definitely be up there.
Zoolander would also be up there for me. I didn't realize until very recently how fucking funny Ben Stiller is and how much I love him. Because between that and Dodgeball, those are like two of the funniest roles I've ever seen anyone play.
Dodgeball's, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Tangent over.
Yep. Okay, so... Oh, and she's in a Lockheed shirt. So her purple dragon that she usually has in the main universe, that they love putting Easter eggs in this universe for. Yeah, he's on her shirt.
He has a purple dragon pet. I think you've said that before, maybe.
Yeah, which is also funny in a meta way because the scene kids loved neon monster merch and like dinosaurs and stuff. They always had a big like Reptar looking thing on their shirts.
I'm looking up scene kids. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll know what I'm talking about.
A youth subculture that emerged in the early 2000s, often characterized by bright clothing, skinny jeans, and unique hairstyles. So there you go. That is Kitty.
Anyways, so they talk about like, yeah, you know, we live in such a mutant phobic world and they hate mutants so much. And Peter's like, I'm glad to see you haven't gone bad. And she's like, bad? And he's like, evil. And she's like, evil? And he goes, you know. She says, I'm mad. I'm not crazy. And I have a right to be mad. And Peter's like, yeah, but not at me. Not at your friends. She's like, I know. And then he asks about Kong. And this is a little disappointing, John. We don't get Kong in the finale at all. She says, oh, I thought you know. I thought you knew. He like immediately ran back to his mom, and then they moved to Wisconsin. He's like, oh, I thought you guys were boyfriend and girlfriend. And she's like, we were. Yeah, he left. And Peter's like, well, you know, you've got to come in, see everyone, stay for dinner. It'll be great. And they walk into his house where everyone is waiting with a big banner that says, Happy 16th birthday. And they all yell, surprise! And we find out Peter didn't even realize it was his birthday. And I thought, know their 16th birthday is coming up? Isn't this the sort of thing that they would have been talking about in advance in his household?
Am I stupid here? Who is the big guy in the back?
That was the other thing. I literally had in my notes. I was like, everyone can't believe he found Kitty, and they're excited Kitty's there. And I wrote, is the blonde supposed to be Liz Allen? Is the big guy supposed to be Flash? Why are they there? Because
maybe that is Flash, I guess, and maybe it is. I mean, I guess if they're just celebrating a birthday party, then it could make sense to invite Liz Allen, but it certainly wouldn't make sense to invite Flash.
There's 7 people there, and 5 of them are very clear. We've got Aunt May, Johnny, Bobby, Gwen, and Mary Jane. And then we've got a blonde girl, and we've got a big, beefy guy. Oh, shit. You know
built
what?
Like a brick house.
That might be Sue and Ben. I mean, they should...
I mean, I bet it is. I think you're right. I definitely think you're right.
Johnny Storm is leaning on the girl, and I thought, oh yeah, him and Liz had like a flirtation. Maybe he's just, they kind of reconnected when she got there.
Well, dude,
I think that's his sister.
Well, for all the that we give them about these kids are always in their costumes, even when they're not in their costumes, they're in the same colors. The fact that they put maybe Sue Storm in like this red and yellow, what almost even looks like a superhero costume, underneath her clothes, it does make it harder to identify who that is. If they'd put her in Fantastic Four colors, we would have immediately known that that's Sue and Ben.
And because it's red and yellow, it made me even more sure that it's Firestar.
Yeah.
But the more I think about this, I mean, this is coming out of...
Oh, you're right. It's definitely Sue and Ben. I think you're right.
Yeah, but I just now realized that, and they could have done a better job making that clear. Because I was like, why would they invite Flash, who doesn't know his secret identity? That's so weird to have everyone who knows Peter Spider-Man in a room, and then also invite his bully who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Man, I know this is not any of their faults because Peter hasn't told any of them about Jessica, but I hate that she's not here, right? I feel like she should have this experience too. I mean, in a way, it's her 16th birthday also. And I just get so sad all the time thinking about how she has memories with all these people and she's like living separate from them.
She should be part sweetheart.
She should be part of the Spider family.
Yeah, she should be.
Okay, so everyone is chumming it up, and they're all very happy that Kitty's back. And Mary Jane is standing in the back, looking cute, waiting for her chance to talk to Peter alone. And he finally, when he gets over to her, she hands him a present and says it's not from her, it's from Tony Stark. And Peter opens it, and it's redesigned web shooters. And he's like, oh, man.
She says Aunt May called over to the Ultimates and invited Tony Stark to Peter's birthday party because she knows how much Peter idolizes Tony Stark, and he couldn't come, but he sent a gift. Isn't that just so funny? I just love that.
That is funny. I'm not sure if this is a callback or not, but do you remember the early issue where Aunt May calls J. Jonah Jameson on Peter's behalf and gives him an earful?
Yeah.
I just feel like this is the same kind of thing. It's like, yeah, she is that overprotective parent who will call anyone and embarrass Peter because, she knows that he has something to say to that adult.
How long do you think it took Tony Stark to redesign these web shooters? Because let's say Aunt May calls him 3 days in advance. It's like a surprise party. Surely she doesn't have this planned out that far in advance, maybe even only a day in advance. She's like, by the way, Tony Stark, we're having a party for Peter. So how long did it take Tony to design these? Was it like an afternoon in the lab?
Yeah, probably.
Like a couple hours?
He probably had his AI working on it while he's doing something else.
He might have even already had it done. It would make sense if he had already even designed these web shooters for Peter. He's just like, oh, I was going to give them to him anyways. I'll just make it a birthday gift.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This part of the book confuses me. Just as far as what is the purpose of it. Everything else I understand. We are putting things in place so that we are in a more familiar spot next issue for readers who are picking the book back up after a long time. I don't really know what the function is of Peter getting new Stark Tech web shooters. That
it's just a Tony Stark Christmas birthday present.
I guess. Dude, I mean, I guess. I don't know.
It's just fun.
It is just fun. So now Peter and MJ are talking, and we remember we brushed over it at the end of last episode, and
they
I think
sat on the roof and talked.
Maybe we shouldn't have. No, dude, she let him in her window.
Yeah,
which might be a euphemism for something else.
It might be.
We've been dancing around this with the subtext the entire series, right? He is always going over to her bedroom and they're smooching and she's in her nightie and underwear and they're talking about should we do it, and they're retconning that they haven't already. And I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say that's what happened the other night, because they are being very coy about. She's like, so the other night, and he interrupts her and he says, "I love you. All this crazy stuff we've been through this year, none of it matters. I'm going to earn you back." And MJ says, "You got me back." And Peter says, "I'm sorry, my life is so crazy." And MJ says, "Did I ask you to apologize?" Peter says, "No, but I like to randomly apologize for things." And MJ goes, "It's cute when you do. So what are we going to do now?" And of course they smooch. And then MJ says, "Happy birthday, Tiger." And Peter asks, "What's with the tiger?" And MJ says, "I just like saying tiger." And they smooch again and the issue ends.
Is this the first time we've heard her say tiger? I feel like we've heard that before in this run.
Yeah, we've heard it many times.
That's what I thought.
It's a cute little bit of dialogue that he questions why she says tiger, but she has definitely said it before.
I think maybe Gwen has said it too.
I don't think Gwen has, because it's specifically a Mary Jane thing.
Is it?
Yeah. Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's like her first line in the original comics. I also think this is another part of wrapping up a story and getting to a point where we are allowed to kill Spider-Man. I think there is something about the optics.
Because he's happy.
Well, yeah, because he's happy. We got to get that settled. And then I feel like there's something about the optics of, I don't know, I think people see 16-year-olds as closer to adulthood. You've passed a threshold, a milestone of age. And it's like more palatable to kill a 16-year-old Spider-Man than a 15-year-old Spider-Man. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No. I mean, they did just specifically do his birthday, which they didn't need to do. So,
right.
You know, there's probably some of that going on. I hadn't really thought of that, but you're probably right.
Also, the fact that they're drawing attention to this is all taken place in 1 year kind of breaks the series, right? There is no way we can say that everything we've read, including the 6-month gap after Ultimatum, took place in 1 calendar year.
Did the story open with his 15th birthday or something?
Not even. He was just already 15.
Yeah.
So, it's not the worst thing.
But it's a comic,
Yes. I don't think anyone should get hung up over it and say this whole series is trash, because, newsflash, time doesn't make sense in any comic superhero storyline.
Or in any animated thing in general,
Yeah. I just wish they wouldn't have said that this is all taking place in 1 year. I just think take that one line out, and even if we know, oh, he was 15 at the beginning and now he's 16, it's just not as in your face.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, we already talked about our Parker Spider-Man happiness scale, but they really throw that in your face with this issue, because they do spend the entire issue being happy for Peter, and it's his birthday and his friends, and he's making out with MJ at the end. And then, like, right in your face in the last panel, it says next issue, The Death of Spider-Man, and it's like a mask with X's on it. So it's like, shoot. He's too happy. We got to kill him.
If you didn't know that was coming next and you just read this issue in a complete vacuum, you would think, wow, this was so wholesome. Nothing bad happened to the dude.
Well, you would think, oh no, next issue he's going to get wrecked.
Right.
And here they just tell you.
Yeah. So I gave this a 14 on a scale of 16 candles on the birthday cake.
Okay.
It was a very enjoyable read with just those little nitpicky gripes. But overall, I mean, I was so happy reading it. I loved it. It's bittersweet knowing what's coming, but it's really picking up in quality towards the end. And I think we'll see that continue in John's issue.
I could give it a high score as well. You know, J. Jonah Jameson came back and he was great. And I guess, you know, Kitty came back kind of just for the sake of bringing Kitty back. Nothing really happened. You know, but it's fine to see her back again. And so, you know, yeah, pretty fun. Like you said, Zach, I'll give it a 13 out of 16 candles. No, I'll give it a 12.5 out of 16 candles.
Ooh, okay. That's less high.
But it's still high. You know. Okay. Yeah. It's still like a 7 to an 8 out of 10. So.
Do you have anything else to say about it, or do you want to get into 156?
I don't really have anything else to say about it. It seems like not that much happened. You know.
I mean,
I probably would have been a little lower on it if you didn't give it such a high score, because I don't really think that it didn't have that much going on.
Simultaneously, not much happened, but also for the sake of resetting to a familiar place before we do the last story, a lot happened.
Yeah. And they did cheese all of their buyers by throwing the Sinister Six on the cover and not having this episode have anything to do with the Sinister Six at all.
Oh, that's true. You do hate that.
I do hate that. But it does tell me, well, the Sinister Six is probably coming in the next one.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do that a lot, you know. And they're on the cover again. So should I get into mine?
Get into yours, but before you do, I do want to talk about the cover of it.
Yes.
This is like kind of famous artwork, right? Like when I was at Dragon Con, I saw shirts and magnets and buttons that had this on it. And I don't know why I didn't get the magnet of it. I think I had told myself I would come back for it later, but I wanted to see if there was anything else. And I just forgot to ever come back for it. But this cover is, it's really good, but you do see it used quite often.
Really?
Yeah.
Used in like what way? What do you mean?
Like on magnets and buttons and shirts.
Okay. I wonder why. I think it's not like particularly awesome when I'm looking at it.
I think because people know what it is. They associate it with the entire Death of Spider-Man story.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Well, we do have, you know, you didn't really explain it, but probably fans of Spider-Man probably already know what you're talking about when you say that, but it's the Death of Spider-Man prelude cover. The Sinister Six is there.
No. I'm talking about your issue, 156.
Yeah. Oh. I'm on the wrong one. The one with the doves.
Yes.
That does look much more famous to me. Yeah, when actually it's funny because when I looked at this one, I was like, "Oh, I think I have seen that before." And you know, Spider-Man with doves behind him, doves notoriously a symbol for death, you know.
Well,
if you've got doves flying behind you, not good.
Or it could be a symbol of peace, and the lighting, and you can see like clouds in the background, and the lighting is kind of shining on him through the clouds, and it's like, oh, is that him coming into the light, or is the cloud moving over him and covering him?
Yeah, when I see this, I'm like, Oh, he's about to be flying up there with the doves. There, he's poor Spider-Man's about to die.
It's like majestic in a playful way where it could either be, oh, this is a really awesome, triumphant Spider-Man story, or this is like his swan song.
Yeah. That's what I thought right away. But you're right. The clouds are kind of drawn in a way where you do get a little stormy cloud action up there in the corner,
We've got a nice new formalism skyscraper behind him. Got to be one of my favorite architectural styles.
Really?
Yeah. I love new formalism, dude.
What are the characteristics of new formalism architecture?
So it's kind of a spin-off of modernism, right? So they're looking at functionality over ornamentation. And probably the most famous example you can think of is like the original Twin Towers. And so they've got all these like vertical exterior columns that kind of exude like strength and stability, and it also offers more usable floor space on the inside because it means they don't have all these random support beams coming up through the floor. It's just an open floor plan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's not the only thing you can do with it. I mean, you can get really creative and interesting. I really like low-rise new formalist buildings, right? Like there's some 2-story buildings that use some of these principles and look a lot less like a jail cell. Yeah. It's just a very clean style.
Okay. I like it. So, The Death of Spider-Man, written by Brian Michael Bendis. And look who our artist is. It's Mark Bagley.
Welcome back.
Incredible. I'm sorry, penciled by Mark Bagley, inked by Andy Lanning, colored by Justin Ponzer, lettered by VC's Corey Petit, and Bagley and Ponzer did the cover art. Yeah. Excellent. Love getting Bagley back.
I don't think it would have felt like a real finale with anyone else.
Yeah. When was the last time we saw him? Like 133 or something?
I can get the exact answer. Give me a second.
Well, what is interesting? Okay, while you're finding that, I'll give a little fun fact here. You know what is interesting about this issue is this issue is actually the record breaker for the most comics written and penciled by the same, writer and inker.
I mean, technically, maybe, but I think
pretty fun.
The point of the record was that it was consecutive issues, right? They didn't need a fill-in artist because they were behind schedule. That's kind of what was amazing, was that they were able to
that is.
Like keep up with each other and put it out every month. We last saw Bagley in issue 111.
My birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, we open this Death of Spider-Man story arc with, kind of a blacked out panel, and we can hear two people having a conversation.
And, sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
It's really 3 blacked out panels, because it starts with one that says Marvel Comics proudly presents, and then we get what you're talking about. And then there's one below it that says The Death of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it really makes it feel like a monumentous
funeral
occasion.
Okay.
They're really hamming it up as this is like something important that you need to pay attention to.
It's sad. They're going to kill my boy.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh. Gosh.
If you were holding out hope that this was going to be a fake out, they're kind of hinting to you that it might not be.
Yeah, but it still feels like it is going to be to me. I know that Spider-Man dies here, and I still don't actually think he's going to. So I am curious when we get there how it's like actually going to happen, because I just find it hard to believe that they're gonna kill Spider-Man,
Yeah. This is going to be a hard plane to land, because they got to do it in a way that doesn't piss a lot of people off.
Yeah. So we get these two people talking, and they say, does he still have his powers? It doesn't seem so. Oh, I like that. I like that they've bolded that word "seem" for us, Does that answer sound good enough? There is absolutely no evidence that he is anything but a normal physical specimen of his age. Wake him up. And we don't really know who they're talking about at this point. So I thought they were talking about Peter, right? I thought we were going to get a classic, this is where we went. Now let's back up a couple weeks and see how we got there, you know? I kind of thought Peter was going to be the unconscious one listening to this conversation. But and then we get that full panel, the death of Spider-Man that Zach was talking about. And then whoever they are talking about, we can see that their eyes kind of open and we see the blurry face of Carol Danvers. And she says, "Okay then, for acts of treason against your government, for acts of terrorism against your fellow man, and as SHIELD director, I am hereby tasked to inform you that you are under arrest. There will be no trial and no hearing. You're in SHIELD custody for the duration of your days." And the page turns and we see it's Norman Osborn in like a power cell kind of thing, you know, like an energy cell. And she says, "Norman Osborn, can you understand the words that you just heard? Not that it matters to me one way or the other." And Norman looks at her and says, "I thought I died." And I thought he died too. Didn't Harry kill this guy? Is that the last time we saw him?
He killed Harry, and then he turned back human and he said, "Kill me." And they were like, "With pleasure." And they shot him in the head.
Who did that? Carol Danvers or Nick Fury or something?
Yeah, SHIELD. One of those two, probably.
That sounds like something Danvers would say. I
think it might have been her.
Yeah. He kills Harry. I thought Harry like stabbed him from behind when he was like about to kill Peter or something.
That was very early on. That was before Harry was a goblin.
See, the problem, Harry became a goblin too. Dude, the problem with all the fake out deaths is it makes it hard to track the story a little bit. It makes it hard to put the timeline in correctly, especially if you're reading the same story over the span of 10 years, or as we've been doing it, 3 years. It's just like, wait, it feels like we've had the conversation of, I thought Norman died like 6 times already.
Well, ironically,
every time I remember being like, I wish he didn't die. We need the Green Goblin.
Sure. I feel like, ironically, this actually serves the fans who had given up on the series more than it serves the ones who read the whole thing, right? Because if you had just read, I don't know, the first 30 issues, in your mind, you're like, yeah, of course it's got to end with Peter and the Green Goblin. That's what the story is about. That's what I remember reading. And so when he just wakes up and he's like, "I thought I died," and they're like, "Yeah, you should have," blah, blah, blah. They don't know and they don't care what is being referenced. They're just glad that they're seeing Norman Osborn because that's who they expected.
Well, and I guess if you're going to do a Death of Spider-Man run, you have to put a big bad. You can't just have him die to the villain of the week,
It's funny you say that. There was a comic just last year that was like supposed to be a prequel to the X-Men Days of Future Past storyline.
Ooh, that's probably good.
So it's set in an alternate universe. And if you know anything about Days of Future Past, you know the famous cover where it's a picture of all these heroes.
Wolverine's like up against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And all the people are X'd out. Oh, I love that.
It says like slain, slain, slain.
Yeah.
And you see all the gravestones, and it's not just mutants. You find out they took out the Fantastic Four. They took out the Avengers. They took out Spider-Man. All the heroes are dead in this alternate future. And so it tells you, they made a comic last year that told you how all those people died. And everyone was really mad about the Spider-Man death because it really was just a gang of people, ordinary people, just beat him to death
just
with
like
bats.
The humans.
They were like, "We think you're a mutant." And they just surrounded him and killed him. And everyone was mad because you're right. You can't just kill Spider-Man like that. It's got to be a big bad.
Yeah, that's like, I don't like that at all. A bunch of humans surrounded him with baseball bats and hit him until he died. That's messed up.
Yeah, it was really poorly received.
Yeah, that makes me upset. So
whatever, that version of Spider-Man was a...
Was he?
Well, he died like one.
Yeah. So Norman's like, I thought I died. And Carol says, and that little brain teaser is the first on our things to figure out. Because I guess they don't know how he survived either. And Norman gets angry for a second. You know, he looks at her through the cell with like a goblin face. And she says, try it, Osborn. I'd like nothing else. And his face turns back into like demoralized, you know. And she says, that's what I thought. Dude, we talk about it and we talk about it and we talk about it. But how stupid are these S.H.I.E.L.D. people? They just will never learn, man. They'll just capture Doc Ock and Norman Osborn over and over again and put them in jail and not know that they're going to escape.
They just need to blast this guy into space.
Obviously, you like can't kill him at this point, right? So you're right.
Put him in a box and drop him into the Marianas Trench.
Like, I mean, Doc Ock, at least you could just shoot through the f***ing head. He's just a man.
Well, I don't know that you could because he can control the metal.
Plastic bullet.
There you go. The Magneto solution.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. So that's kind of what our tease for this storyline is, and then we go into the titles page or the credits page or, you know, whatever you'd call it. So the scene changes and Peter and MJ are out at a diner and they're talking about what just happened with J. Jonah Jameson. And Mary Jane's like, so let me get this straight. He knows your secret. And not only is he not going to out you, but he's going to give you a job and he's going to let you come and go as you please. And he says, that is exactly it, Mary Jane. And she asks if he trusts J. Jonah Jameson. And Peter's like, well, I think I have to, you know. And to be fair, he's given him no reason not to trust him. Like, JJJ seems like he's doing Peter a big solid at this point, you know. Like, they're definitely on the same side. And Peter kind of explains that. He says, you know, if he was going to out me, he probably already would have. He would have made a big, you know, story. He would have said, stop the presses. And MJ just looks at him and she says, I'm just so happy. You know, I never thought we'd get back together. And he's like, I don't even know why we broke up in the first place. And gosh, you just,
you
just
idiot.
So it's just so funny seeing Peter happy. He's just like, I'm just so happy. Oh, you said the magic words. God bless it.
This is the best day of my life.
And as they are talking about how happy they are, and they're like, I don't even know why we broke up in the first place. And Mary Jane's like, it probably has to do with your stressful double life. And Peter says, you know, I thought about that, and I have a theory. And as he's saying this, his phone rings. And it's like, oh, here's where the other shoe drops. We were waiting for it to happen. You know, we were waiting for something bad to happen. And he gets a call on his sweet Nokia phone. And she says, who is it? And he's like, it's just a telemarketer. I don't recognize the number. I'm not picking up this call. And he and MJ hem and haw about it. And she's like, you should answer. It could be important. You know, tell him off. And he's like, no, I'm not giving him the satisfaction. And as we see them arguing about answering the phone, from outside the window, we see a big, burly man who's looking at them with a phone to his ear. So this is the man that's calling Peter. And did you recognize this when he showed up? I didn't know who this was. I was like, I don't know. I thought, is this the guy from the last issue who was at his party?
Oh, yeah. Whoever we didn't know who it was. Yeah. Probably Ben Grimm.
Because this guy looks like a brick house also.
I'll be honest, I knew who it was because I had read the story. I don't remember what my first impression was the first time I read it. I will say, this whole time they're in the diner, I kept having this thought. If we have any webheads who are like, can do oil paintings or whatever, I just have this vision that I want to see because this is like the most diner you've ever seen. I want a really long, like, oil painting that's them sitting at this table and then Pumpkin and Honey Bunny from Pulp Fiction sitting at the booth behind them, and Wilson Fisk and Daredevil sitting at the booth behind them, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi and Dex sitting at the booth behind them.
Well, surely if you had Honey Bunny and whatever the person's name is, you'd have Jules and Vincent sitting at one, right?
Exactly. I just want like a panorama oil painting of everyone who's ever done a diner scene where they're sitting in the booth next to the window, and I just want them all lined up and get to look at all these people having a nice meal.
Well, Zach, let me tell you how you can get that extremely easily.
If you say AI, I swear to Christ.
Go in to ChatGPT and say, make me an oil painting with these characters in this. Whoops, sorry, accidentally hit my microphone. And it'll spit it out for you, you know?
John, I want art lovingly made by human hands.
Well, of course, but that's going to be a very expensive painting to have somebody paint for you. And that'd be really cool.
Here's the thing, I don't want it bad enough to actually pay for it. If anyone just wants to do it on their free time.
And so if anybody wants to make Zach a really long, really detailed oil painting, I would take one too. Got a perfect spot on the wall for it.
But have you ever thought about that? Every time anyone is in a diner in a fictional setting, they're sitting in this booth by the window, right?
Yeah.
They never are at a table or the bar.
Should we have the Riddler sitting at the bar with his coffee before he gets arrested from Batman, you know?
That's right. That's how you know he's messed up. He's the one person
He's sitting alone at the bar.
Doesn't sit in the booth.
Yeah. I had never thought about that, but that would make for a very cool little like pop culture, you know, piece of art. I like it.
That'd go great next to a pool table in a man cave.
Oh my gosh, dude, that'd be awesome. You're making me so upset that I sold my pool table.
That would look so cool next to the dogs playing poker painting.
Yep. And you know, I bet you could even find enough comic book dogs that you could have someone do a painting of that with like the Superman dog and you know, look at this, dude. We got to start selling this stuff. We got to put this into AI and just start monetizing this.
Oh my God. Krypton and Jeff the Land Shark.
I don't know who that one is.
Crypto, the Superman. Yeah, the Superman dog and Jeff the Land Shark. And,
who's that? Whose dog is that?
He's a land shark.
Oh,
do you not know Jeff?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to start reading the Jeff the Land Shark Infinity comic series on Marvel Unlimited.
You could throw Howard the Duck in there.
There you go.
Okay, Jeff the Land Shark.
Lockheed, he's a good boy. He's got to be in there.
He's a good boy. He's got to be in there.
Crocodile Loki.
Okay, so this man, if you do recognize him, I don't think it's supposed to be a secret. You know, it's Captain America. He's watching him through the outside, and once you do know that, he is dressed like vintage Captain America. He's got an awesome leather jacket on. He looks like America, if you ask me. Whoops, accidentally hit my mic again. And Peter finally answers the phone and says, "You're on the air." And we see this man say, "Look out the window." And Peter looks out the window and he says, put on your uniform, soldier. It's time for boot camp. Meet me at the 1st Cavalry Forest Hill Cemetery in 15 minutes. And MJ says, "Who is that? Seriously, who is that?" as he's walking away. And then she says, "Is that who I think it is?" And Peter says, "If you think it's Captain America without his costume on, come to give me a hard time, then yes, it is who you think it is." That's such a funny way of saying that. I love the phrase, "If you think it's Captain America without his costume on, come to give me a hard time." That's just such a funny way of... It's a proper way of saying that, but it's just a little old-fashioned way of saying that also. It's just like a perfect string of words together.
It's almost Dennis Reynolds DN in the way where it's like, that was a little too formal.
And she says, "Wow, what's all that about?" And Peter says, I might have forgotten to tell you. And then MJ finishes his thought and says, you have superhero training. Yeah, Gwen told me. And he says, I got to go. And she looks up at him. And I do kind of love the way she's looking at him. You know, she's looking at him with a lot of admiration and love. You can kind of tell. And she says, yes, you do. And he says, I feel bad. And she says, that's your default feeling. It's okay. And she says, I love you. And they say, I love you too. And it's very cute. It's a good little scene. You know, it's good that Peter is with someone who understands the importance of his double life, and everything is kind of falling into place for him, right? He has a job where his boss understands the importance of his double life. He has a girlfriend who understands the importance of him needing to like skedaddle at times.
Aunt May.
I sure do hope nobody kills him.
Right. That would suck.
That would suck.
Also, we still haven't even gotten his training with Thor yet. That was the deal, right? We were going to get a training with Iron Man and a training with Cap and a training with Thor, and then he's an ultimate or something, I guess. Right?
Well, maybe that's still coming, right?
We'll see.
Like, I mean, you are right. Thor might just be next.
He might be.
I can't imagine Thor has time to train some kid. Isn't he like listening to rock and like fighting for socialism or something like that? Wasn't Thor a comrade when we last saw him like 100 issues ago?
Yep, this Thor is based. Yeah.
Yeah. So back in
now, youngling, we're going to destroy bulldozers in the rainforest.
That'd be awesome. Thor has doves all around him. Now that I think about it, doves are always flying around Thor, aren't they?
Yeah, we've seen that a few times.
Didn't he have a very famous, like, or maybe not famous, but a big and beautiful drawing of him, like with doves all around him?
Yeah, that was in Ultimates.
Yeah. So back at the Triskelion, Norman's being questioned by some psychiatrist science dork, which I'm sure will work because that always works, you know. And he's like, what would you like to talk about, Norman? You're brushed with death. And Norman obviously is like, who are you? I don't care about talking to a psychiatrist. And
for those who care about the cameo, it's Doc Samson, the worst psychiatrist in the Marvel universe.
Why is that?
He's just always...
Jesus, besides this lady in the Daredevil show that we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. You don't like Heather Glenn?
Not in this. We'll get to it.
Doc Samson generally is doing exactly what he's doing here. He works for the government, and they're like, oh, go psychoanalyze this hero or villain. And he's like, okay, cool. And it's like, here's the report on them. I didn't treat them at all.
They're crazy. You'll never believe it.
Yeah. Hey, here's how you manipulate them. All right, money, please.
Oh, so he's there to find out how to manipulate these bad guys.
He's like writing the dossiers. He's not really like a feelings doctor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Don't they need someone like that?
I guess.
So they're like, they talk for a little bit, and you know, we can see that Carol Danvers is listening into the conversation, and it's not working. Doc Samson, Norman's not talking to him. He's like, listen, if the blonde wants information from me, I want my privileges and considerations. And Carol Danvers from the other room says, go to hell, Osborn. Okay, Samson, you have your shot. We've got his blood. We've got his urine. We've got his DNA. I'll be happy if I never hear his voice again. And that is a good... For once, she's kind of being a good boss here. She's like, listen, guys, we don't need to talk to him. We can throw him in a hole and wait for him to die. We've got everything we need from him. Let's just stop with this. But she might be a little too late. She arrived at this too late.
It's a good plan. Better get on it right the now.
Yeah. And maybe this is just like light shining, but they're there's very clearly an energy ball forming in Norman Osborn's hands while he's talking to Doc Samson. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, they're just like somehow not noticing it.
Exactly. And it's like getting bigger. And Norman says, "You have no idea what it is inside me. No idea." And next thing we know, there's a big fire explosion and Norman has completely goblined out. And we should have expected this. We've seen from S.H.I.E.L.D. so many times them say, his powers are gone. He's healed. He's just a normal man. And then one scene later, he always explodes into a goblin.
They keep falling for it.
They do. We need Jesse Pinkman to come in and do his classic, "You can't keep getting away with this." So Carol Danvers is like, "Oh, son of a bitch, he's a big fireman again. I thought you said he didn't have powers anymore." And the science stork is like, "There was absolutely no indication." And she's like, "Shut up." And she says, "Code red, alert, full lockdown." And Norman is in a very, very classic goblin pose, laughing, on fire. I feel like we've seen it so many times over this run.
That image goes so hard. It does. Basking in his own glory.
That's a perfect word. Basking is a perfect word for that. And he's starting to escape. He's broken out of his little power cell at this point. And boy, do I respect these two S.H.I.E.L.D. guards they're the true heroes, Zach, because we've said it before. When you run into a situation that others run away from, that's what heroism is. And man, are these two S.H.I.E.L.D. guards just so outgunned, and they're about to die, obviously. And probably that psychiatrist is about to die also. You see, he didn't ask for this, but he's going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, they are being good soldiers, standing there, pointing their guns to the very end.
They're like, "Stand down, Osborn." I want to go back a couple panels because I meant to ask you, when we're in S.H.I.E.L.D. and we're looking at Carol Danvers and she has a TV behind her, who is that strong black man, not Nick Fury, between Nick Fury and Captain America?
Dude, I think that's Luke Cage. I think there's something going on right now where Nick Fury has his own team that's called the Avengers that are kind of separate from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ooh, Zach, you guys can't see my face, but my eyes just perked open and my ears perked up.
John, there was an idea to assemble a team of people who could do what needed to be done when we couldn't.
Fight the battles that we never could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shoot, I forgot it's me. I forgot I'm the star of this issue.
Right.
So she's keeping tabs on the new Avengers team. So obviously Norman is throwing big fireballs and he kills those random people and the psychiatrist that we talked about. And he says, "You have no idea how close to God I have journeyed to do this." And then he's throwing fireballs all over the place and he breaks open the prison cells and he says, "Come out, men of God." What's up with this dude and God?
Well, the fact that he references them back to back.
And he's only got 2 lines and he referenced God in both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he sees himself as God.
I think so too.
That's what he's saying is he's like, it's like, to me, my minions.
Yes, 100%. Come out, men of God. I think he's talking about like these villains who are his men now. Yeah. Okay. So we both had that thought. So that must be it. And then we get a full page drawing, and it's Electro, Kraven the Hunter. Ugh, what a disappointing 6th member of the Fab Six we have here. Well, Kraven the Hunter.
Remember, in Ultimate 6, he did get powers. He is like an enhanced person now. It's not like the first time we saw him.
It's not just TV man Kraven.
Right. Peter makes him swallow his own teeth and is like, "I thought he was special or something."
Oh, yeah, he does say that. So it's Electro, Kraven, the Sandman, Doc Ock, and Vulture. And then Norman Osborn makes 6. And they're like, Norman, we probably shouldn't bask in this escape too much. Let's just get out of here, you know? And Norman says, I concur. And they break out onto like the SHIELD base with a bunch of helicopters and planes. And he says, do any of you know how to fly these things? Vulture, luckily, knows how to fly one of these things, and they fly away to safety.
Well, it's funny. He says, you can fly this? And he says, I was Air Force. And Doc Ock says, I didn't know that. He says, that's so strange considering all the personal alone time you and I have shared. Which I think is sarcastic.
Yeah. And then we meet back up with Spider-Man and Cap. And they're at a cemetery. And to me, this immediately reminded me of... Try to read my mind here, Zach. You've got this, like, coach and leader who's taking Peter to a cemetery. And he's probably about to give him a big talk about how people, like, die and something or other.
I've seen this scene so many times in so many things. Which one are you thinking of?
Denzel Washington in Remember the Titans.
Oh,
when he brings all the boys to Gettysburg.
That's right.
And he says, if we don't come together. That's all I know.
You know, hot take. I don't love Remember the Titans. I never have.
Oh my God, that's the worst take I've ever heard. You probably shared that take with me on this podcast before, and I blocked it out because that's such a bad take.
As much as I love the game of football, I don't think there's ever been a single good football movie. The closest thing is Draft Day, and that's because it's a good, bad movie. It's ironically good.
I'm so upset by this opinion on Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies. I'll watch it every time I have an opportunity. Like every time I randomly see a Remember the Titans, or like, you know, sometimes the kids might watch Remember the Titans in class and just a random thing. You have to watch it. It's so good. Why don't you like it?
I've seen it many times.
I know. Why don't you like it?
I don't know.
Do you not like the message?
No, it's an all right movie. I'm not out here saying it's trash.
That you don't like the message that blacks and whites should be playing football together?
It just doesn't move me. That specific movie as the messenger for that message just doesn't move me the way it seems to like affect everyone else.
I can't believe that.
I turned it off and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I don't really think about it again for the rest of the day.
Well, I think about Remember the Titans like how they say men think about the Roman Empire. I think that's how often I think about Remember the Titans.
I think that's true of many men. I'm in the minority.
It's such a good speech. It's such a good speech when he's like, they crossed the line of scrimmage. I'm taking every last one of you out.
I know. It is.
You remember the night they played the Titans.
And it's a great performance by Denzel. You know, the whole, you think this is fun? Football's fun.
Oh my God, he's got Turk. I just watched that scene the other day because sometimes it shows up on my YouTube shorts or something.
It's a good scene. Like, I have to admit it. I don't know what it is. I don't like sports movies usually. And I definitely don't like football movies. It doesn't actually feel like watching a game of football to me.
No, that's a good one. It's better than Hoosiers. If you told me you don't like Hoosiers, I could maybe understand that, because if I wasn't from Indiana and had such a love of Indiana basketball, I could see how Hoosiers is a little slow-paced and boring at times.
It's older.
But not Remember the Titans.
I know several people from my community that were in Hoosiers, right? Because it was filmed in Indiana, and they just pulled whatever extras.
You could like show up to be an extra.
Yeah. Like there were people at my church growing up who were in it. I had a substitute teacher in school that was in it, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone has stories about Hoosiers in Indiana.
Let's get back to the graveyard. So Captain America is gearing up to give a really great Captain America speech, and I'm going to read it and then we can talk about it and we can think, did this live up to a Captain America speech or not? Life and death. I don't think you've considered it in a real way. Well, first of all, Peter kind of shows up to the cemetery and he's already doing quips. He's like, this is exactly why I don't date goth girls. And Captain America says, stop talking and look. I love it. That's good. He's starting out a strong speech. Life and death. I don't think you've considered it in a real way. And if you have, I see no evidence of it. You need to know soldiers like you have faced life and death for this country since before this was a country. And I know you may not see yourself as a soldier, but you are. You wear a uniform and you fight. And this drives me insane. You don't fight smart. You don't fight like your life depends on it. You don't fight like the lives of others depend on it. You act like a teenager who doesn't think his day will ever come. And I'm sorry, it makes you a fool. Now this next part you're not going to be happy to hear. Okay, so let's cut. Let's cut. What do we think of that?
It's kind of, it's very condescending, but also Cap doesn't really know Peter.
He's kind of wrong. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, actually, Cap, Spider-Man is always doing what's right, and he is always trying to save people. Like, this Spider-Man is always putting other people first. I think Captain America hears him joking and quipping, and he lets that get in the way of his actions.
Yes.
You know?
We had a pretty sizable arc around, like, issue 70, I think, where Gwen had just died, and Peter had this nightmare encounter, and he's convinced that he's going to die and Mary Jane's going to die, and he has to break up with her and torture himself and do Spider-Man no more. And we went through all of this.
Yeah.
We were there. We saw it happen. Captain America doesn't get to just make these assumptions.
Well, and I mean, you mentioned that, but we have endless evidence that Peter is always diving into trouble, right? Literally, there's that famous panel where he is diving in during Ultimatum to, like, save people, you know? So when Cap was saying that speech, that's kind of the image that popped into my head, was like that scene of, like, Spider-Man diving in. You know, because I'm like, oh, you're kind of in the wrong here. You're giving a good speech, but he's just not correct. You know,
you don't know the audience.
Yeah. So Captain America says, now this next part you're not going to be happy to hear, and Peter cuts him off and he says, you're going to say something more insulting? And Cap says, Carol Danvers came to the Ultimates and asked what we thought she should do with you. Iron Man and Thor gave you the thumbs up. I did not. I said you should be benched. I was outvoted. That's why we're here, to teach you. And that's also kind of interesting, because didn't Iron Man just say that he was outvoted? Isn't he like, I thought you didn't need any training, but I was outvoted. So that means if we're tallying the votes here, that means there were two votes. Two votes. The first one was, should he be benched or not? And it sounds like Iron Man and Thor voted against Captain America and said, no, he should be fighting. And then the second vote was, does he need training? And I guess Thor swapped his vote, and he's like, yes, he does need training.
Yeah. I think the way we saw it play out, you're right, that should have been the process. I think it was more like they were talking about two extremes, which is, should we leave him alone or should we take him out completely, tell him he's done being a superhero? And they were kind of gridlocked, so what they came to was a compromise of, we will train him.
Okay. That's probably more likely. Yeah.
That's what we saw in that conversation.
Yeah.
But it's ironic that both of them they lost the vote.
Exactly. They both, because Tony Stark doesn't want to take his time training some stupid 16-year-old kid, so he feels like he was outvoted.
He doesn't know how to train. His solution is punch me as hard as you can.
Yeah. So that is kind of funny. So Cap says, I was outvoted. That's why we're here, to teach you, to train you. Because there's two ways to run into a burning building. Two ways to fight a maniac who won't lie down. Two ways. One is smart and courageous, and one is immature and foolish. And to Captain America's credit, we we do talk all the time about how Peter might always try to do the heroic thing, but a lot of times he does make the situation worse. Not anymore. That hasn't happened in a while. But specifically back early on, he was always just running headfirst in, and he was messing up Daredevil's stuff, and he's messing up Doctor Strange's stuff, right? He's just always, he never knows the full extent of what's going on. And Cap says, because we're all going to end up here eventually, talking about the cemetery, and it's your responsibility to make sure, and listen, this is the most important thing I can tell you. No matter what you... And then they're interrupted by a phone call. And this is the second time we've about to hear something and it gets interrupted by a phone call. Have you noticed that?
It happened at the diner.
Yeah. I kind of want to hear what they're going to say.
What the most important thing is?
Yeah.
You know what this kind of reminded me of was the speech that Colossus gives in the first Deadpool movie where he's like, 1 or 2 moments. This is all it takes to be hero. Put on your
underwear as hero. Eat breakfast as hero.
It's like the most stereotypical, like, morally good hero speech that you're supposed to take so seriously, but it's going to get cut off, right? Yeah. We're not going to really get the closure of it.
There's a ton of scenes like that where I feel like they're always like, and this isn't, you're like talking to a hologram and he's like, this is important. Make sure no matter what you do, click. It's like, uh-oh.
Lost the signal.
Dude,
I want to do that. I hope when I die, I have the awareness in the moment to do the best bit ever and be like, listen, I have a lot of wealth stored in a secured fund.
It's important that you know.
Call this number and then start writing like 6 numbers. Give him like an incomplete phone number. Be like, this is where you get your vast inheritance, and then just die.
So Cap is like, no matter what, you have to, and then the phone rings and he's like, oh, just hold on for a second there. This is Rogers. And the other end of the phone, I think it's Carol Danvers or it's someone from S.H.I.E.L.D., and they say, there's a priority situation. We had a security outbreak at the Triskelion. Fury's Black Ops team has gone rogue in the city. What? Fury's Black Ops team? Was the Sinister Six Fury's team? Like a Suicide Squad?
Nope, separate incident. So this is going to be a key part of the plot, which is S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of the heroes have their hands tied up with this bullshit that's going on with Nick Fury's team, which is why Peter is the only one who can handle the Sinister Six.
Okay, that's good. That's good that you explained that because the comic did not.
I know.
And I'll get, as we move through these next couple pages, I was going to be like, dude, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So okay, they're saying Fury's Black Ops team has gone rogue in the city, and Cap's like, I'm on my way. And then they say, whoever's on the other end at S.H.I.E.L.D. says, are you with the kid? And he says, yes. And they say, order is to ditch him. And Cap says, yes, ma'am. And he hops on his bike and starts driving away. And Peter's like, should I come with you? And he's like, nope, there'll be other chances. And Peter watches him drive away before saying, well, you can't stop me from following you. And he starts swinging behind him.
No, Peter, don't go.
And then we cut to where the Sinister Six crashed the helicopter. And he says, we have a Black Hawk down at Bryant Park. Are the escapees there? Not a single one. They trashed the neighborhood and got away. We're interviewing civilians, but it looks like they threw up some fireballs and some sand walls and just bailed. And Ben Urich is watching, and he calls up J. Jonah Jameson. He's like, Jonah, baby, you're going to love me. Guess who happens to be at the place where Norman Osborn and a bunch of villains just crashed a helicopter, and guess who just got video of it? Proof that he's alive. And that's kind of all we hear from it, but I just think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then hey
Chuck, it's your cousin Marvin. You know that proof that Osborn was alive that you were looking for? Well, look at this.
And at the same time, they're like, oh, we've got a situation at the Queensboro Bridge. And I did think that this was the same situation. I don't know. It just wasn't ever like explained. So the Sinister Six, they're in someone's house. I don't remember whose house it is. They're like, is this your place? No, it's your place. I don't know. They're in some house and they flip on the TV and they're watching this thing happen on the Queensboro Bridge. And Norman's like, this is very good for us because this means S.H.I.E.L.D. is occupied. It's God's work. He wants us to smite our enemies so we don't repeat our mistakes. He wants us to kill Peter Parker. And Peter has followed Cap to the Queensboro Bridge. And I guess this is Fury's Black Ops team that is now doing this. So is this the Avengers you were talking about that are like doing this?
Yeah, it's like Avengers versus Ultimates.
So Peter's watching this big explosion on the Queensboro Bridge. And he's like, oh no. And just then MJ calls him. And he says, can't talk, MJ. I'm kind of in the middle of something. And she says, have you seen the news? And he says, I think I'm seeing it now. And she says, no, Norman Osborn escaped. You know, they all escaped. And they're coming after you, Peter. They're going to kill you. You have to save Aunt May. You have to save Gwen. You have to save your family. And that's how the issue ends. To be continued. Oh, so he's going to leave this thing at the Queensboro Bridge to go and deal with them.
Well, we don't really know, right? Because we are seeing in this last panel, reflecting in his eye glasses or whatever is in his, on his mask, it's reflecting the explosion of the bridge. And so I think he's kind of faced with a choice. Go back and help the people he cares about, or go forward and help the people right in front of him.
Not really a choice, because like Captain America's there. He can handle this,
Okay, yeah, he can do this all day.
It also, that's true. It also feels like a bigger, I'm a little surprised that they called Captain America and said, hey man, you got to go deal with this thing at the Queensboro Bridge. Like, I thought, because I misread the issue, I thought they were telling him to go and deal with the Sinister Six. I mean, isn't that top priority for S.H.I.E.L.D. right now? They're not really acting like it is.
I think
maybe they're just like, they escaped. They're out. They're in the wind at this point.
Yeah, I think this is where human bias comes in, right? Because if you're S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury and some rogue agents is the biggest threat to you because those are the guys you know. If you're Spider-Man,
Nick Fury's doing this?
That's what they're saying, yeah. If you're Spider-Man, the Sinister Six is your biggest threat because those are the guys you know, right? Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. probably should, if they're just like acting in everyone's best interest, they should take care of the Sinister Six, but I just don't think they see it that way. I think they see it an institutional threat to themselves in Nick Fury.
Yeah. Well, there had better be a damn good reason. If Nick Fury's going to go bad the last 4 issues of this entire run, we'd better have a good reason for it. He's just blowing up bridges now. Like,
no, it's not.
If you
really
tell
him.
me it's his, okay, I was going to say, if you say his team, well, who knows? Maybe if he put a team together of, anti-heroes, then yeah, they're going to go bad at some point, right?
There's like another guy who's actually like pulling the strings, I think, of S.H.I.E.L.D. Behind Carol Danvers' back and is like giving them misinformation and
Well, didn't we just see in the last couple issues, didn't like Nick Fury not know about some stuff and Carol Danvers didn't either? And we were like, who is higher up at S.H.I.E.L.D.? Yeah, it was like the underground lab.
Oh, yeah.
Or something. And we're like, why is there a S.H.I.E.L.D. thing that neither Carol Danvers nor Nick Fury knows about, but this random soldier happens to know about it?
There's got to be like a Palpatine guy at the top of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess there is. Pretty good issue. I liked it a lot. I'm sure that's not a surprise considering Captain America was in it a lot and he was given some good speeches, even if they weren't the best speeches he's ever given. Gosh, you know what a good one is? Maybe we should read Civil War so we can read his stand like a tree and, plant yourself like a tree and say, no, you move speech, because that's a good one.
Have you read Civil War?
No.
Okay. I don't love it.
Really? Well, it's probably not as good as the movie.
Yeah, I like the movie better.
Yeah.
I mean, they're different stories, right? Like, it was a very loose adaptation, but
yeah.
I've never
read it. Does Peter die on like the steps of the Capitol or something? Does he get shot?
No. He comes out as Spider-Man publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't someone die on like the steps of the Capitol? Someone gets shot.
Captain America, but it's comics. It's a fake out.
Oh, okay. Well, he can do this all day. You can't kill him.
Right.
Pretty good. I liked it. Let's say out of
6.
We'll say out of I was about to say the same thing. We'll say out of our Sinister 6. I'm gonna just because I think 5 out of 6 from a fraction is probably too low. I'm willing to give this a 6 out of 6.
I am also willing to give this a 6 out of 6. This is, I literally read this today, and then I told Shyla, who doesn't care. Man, part of me is like never looking forward to reading this arc because it's sad, but I know it's a good arc, and every time I come back to it, I'm like amazed by how good it is. I forget how drastically the quality like jumps up from what it had been for a little bit.
Well, I hate to say this because I know how much you like this run because it's just like Peter at high school and he's kind of dealing with like actual Peter Parker stuff, but maybe that's why actually that's not true. It's just because the Mysterio stuff has been so underwhelming, and we've been on that for so long. We haven't had a real proper villains in a long time. It feels like, and now we're getting them again.
Sure, Mysterio took forever, and then I don't know if you picked up on this, but even when we had like the Hornet, I mean, we had several times that we bumped into him, and not once did Peter ever actually
Hornet?
Yeah. What? The purple, I think you said he looked like an Iron Man suit. He was like purple and green.
Oh yeah. I remember who you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we never even beat him. He just flew off to Latveria to serve Doctor Doom.
We never beat Mysterio either. We punched his hologram person, but they said the guy's still out there somewhere.
Like, as of the Death of the Goblin story, like Peter had pretty much beaten all of his big villains, and we've just been, doing other stuff since then.
Yeah.
You get the Chameleon twins, and they're pretty creepy, but I mean, he took care of them in one arc.
Yeah. We haven't really gotten any of his famous rogues in a while.
Because it's such a good job in like the first 100 issues of hitting on all of them.
Yeah. And, had they given Mysterio his awesome, like, green and purple and fishbowl head, I mean, that I think it would have gone a lot further into, like, making him a good villain versus, like, just someone we don't really care about at all.
Well, I'm not as hung up on the design of him, but
I'm pretty hung up on it.
He's a character that got introduced in a very big way and then didn't seem to have any real goal, right?
Yeah.
Every time we saw him, it was clear they were kicking the can down the road for like what his big story was going to be.
So he's done. We won't see him again. That man he's still out there somewhere.
He's still out there. Yeah.
You didn't answer, so do we see him again? Does he come back?
I can't remember. I'm sure Miles fights him at some point.
Oh, okay. But not in these next 3 issues. He's not coming back.
No.
Okay. Good stuff. Couple of 6 out of 6s.
Yep.
Anything else on Spider-Man?
I don't think so, man. I'm excited for next week. We're going to be continuing this. We're going to be getting into issues 157 and 158.
So we've got 2 more weeks until the death of Spider-Man, presumably. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, it feels surreal that like 3 years ago, we started talking about this, and I was like, this is the end goal, right? We're going to get through the first issue all the way to the 160th issue. There's going to be some like side series along the way. And it's like, we're 2 weeks away from that.
What's the Tony Stark line? This is the end of the path that you started us on all those years ago, Zach.
Does he say that? Is that in a movie?
Yeah, I think it's in like Endgame or something, or maybe in Infinity War. You know,
you're always so much better at quotes than me.
Thanks. It's probably something with my brain. I can memorize songs really easily too.
Yeah, dude, your references are off the hook. You have the best references.
Thanks, Zach.
Do you know that quote?
Of course, this is the end.
Yeah.
Or the end of the world or something.
Whatever. The one with all the celebrities.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
Doofuses.
That Jonah Hill quote is so funny how he says that.
Right. That's like, this is the secret. That's like all any guy wants to hear. Is that his references are off the hook.
For real.
That's like the secret to male happiness.
Okay, what else do we have? I know we have a lot of TV shows to watch. This like kind of shows you how sad the state of Doctor Who is at the moment, but I guess the Doctor Who season dropped. And I'm like the biggest Doctor Who fan on the planet, and I didn't know that. So that tells me they have f***ed up royally with Doctor Who over the last like 2 years. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
Were you current?
Yeah. I've seen all, you know, I saw the Christmas special when it came out. I had no idea the new season was about to come out. I just hopped on Disney Plus to watch Daredevil today to like rewatch it. And it was like Doctor Who new seasons, you know, streaming. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But it is really sad because they're about to maybe have I talked about this on here before? You can stop me if I have, but they're going to take like a 5-year break on Doctor Who.
Oh, I did not know that.
Because no one's happy with it. It's just not getting good ratings. It's just the actor who's in charge of the actor who plays the Doctor, I don't think is very happy with like the writing and the scripts. And, you know, when we talk about shows that have gone woke to a bad degree, to the point where it slaps you in the face too hard with the message that they're trying to come across. I think Doctor Who's at the top of the list for that one. And it bums me out because Doctor Who's always had left-leaning messages, because it's a guy who goes around and saves everyone and, you know, treats people kindly and, you know, just wants what's best for the world. So it's always had political messages, but now they just smack you in the face with them, and it's just too much. And I don't know. And it bums me out that I'm not going to get Doctor Who for like 5 to 10 years, because they've messed it up so badly that they just have to like take a total break and like reset down the road.
I wish we hadn't already ostracized all of our conservative listeners, because they would have loved hearing you rant against woke just now.
We've talked about that before, when they get too preachy with their messaging, it's like becomes bad, you know. Even if you agree with the message, it pulls you out of the fact that you're supposed to be like watching a TV show, you know. You're not supposed to be getting political messaging right now.
I feel like for me, it's when it's done really bad, you can tell when it's fake, right? You can tell when they felt like they needed to check a box, not this is actually what they believe and they put it in the show intentionally.
Yeah. Or like they'll just say lines that are just like too ham-fisted, you know, like, I don't know. I don't want to try to like come up with an example off the top of my head, but I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure that the Sam Wilson line, "I'm a black man wearing the stars and stripes. How do you think I feel about this?" And it's like, if we had if we had a better show, he wouldn't have to say that, because we would all already know that he's a black man wearing the stars and stripes. And we should have some insight into how that makes him feel without him having to come out and give a big speech about it, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, don't expect nuance from your MCU shows anytime soon, but that does suck about Doctor Who.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new episode. Like I said, I just saw it came out today, so I am kind of excited to watch it, and hopefully it will be awesome. But the fact that a month ago, you know, I read these things about how like the actor's unhappy and he's leaving early on his contract to go and just try to do movies in America. And, you know, Russell T Davies, who they specifically brought back because he was so good at writing Doctor Who, you know, when it first came back on the air. Now he's leaving also because of some reason or another. It's like, oh man, this is tough.
So here's my hope for you and for other Whovians.
Yes.
Over the course of the next 5 years, the next generation of writers and actors are cooking up something in the lab. And when it comes back, excitement is at an all-time high, and the show hits like crack.
Yeah.
And you get a new golden age of it.
Hopefully.
All right, so what other shows? Doctor Who is in unfortunate places. What do we think about Daredevil?
Oh my gosh. Talk about going from a low to a high, right? Gosh, I love this last episode. What did you think? We're a couple episodes because we need to talk about a couple episodes, right?
Do we? No, I thought we caught up. We had done the Muse stuff, and now we're
yeah, we did.
We're on the black tie ball.
Yes. Okay. Do you just give me your thoughts on this, and I have some comments here and there that I'll just throw in, you know, as we talk about stuff. What do you think? I mean,
I loved it. I enjoyed the whole episode, but those like last 2 or 3 minutes, I had to go back and watch like 3 times because it was just so hype. I mean, that's like how you lead into a last episode of the season. Talk about a cliffhanger.
Okay, well, I thought that this was the finale because nowadays, like every show has like 8 episodes. And I think the reason it was not a finale was because that episode we just watched and what is about to be the finale were filmed well after everything else was filmed. Do you remember I said like they filmed the season and then D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox were like, this is not good. This is not going to be well received. So they went back and they filmed episode 1 and then they filmed these 2 episodes also. So they are completely new. And I think that it felt like that. Like this just felt like such a good episode to me from like start to finish.
I can't even fathom what the original plan was, because if you take out episode 1 and these 2 episodes, first of all, that's the best. Those are the best parts of the whole show so far. But also, it's not a complete story. I don't even know what they would have been trying to do if we didn't have that start and then this ending.
Maybe they would have had more Muse stuff, because the Muse stuff did feel kind of rushed. So maybe some of that got taken out to like make room for some of this new stuff. I don't know. Like to make Kingpin more of the big bad for the series. Like maybe Muse was supposed to be more of a big bad for the series or the season.
I don't even know if Kingpin is the big bad of the season. I think Vanessa is.
Oh, I think we're getting some classic Kingpinning now. The scenes with him and the guy who plays the swordsman.
Yeah.
God, I love that actor.
That guy's good.
He's Lalo Salamanca in Better Call Saul. If you've ever seen Better Call Saul.
I couldn't get into it.
He's kind of like the big bad of Better Call Saul. He shows up maybe a couple seasons in and is in it for the rest of the show, and he's just awesome. And when I watched Hawkeye, I hadn't seen Better Call Saul yet. So that actor meant nothing to me. And now he shows up in this and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's Lalo from Better Call Saul." So I'm loving him.
I liked him in Hawkeye too. I think he was delightful there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he was.
This guy just steals scenes.
He does. Okay, so a couple of my my comments just from starting the issue. I'm feeling a bit. What's the word when you might be in the wrong, but then it turns out you're right? What's that word?
Vindicated?
Yes, I'm feeling a bit vindicated on my hate for this therapist throughout the season because, boy, she's really going off the rails with some bad therapizing, and she's just like totally like wrong with a lot of the things that she's like saying and thinking.
That's so funny because I actually came to love her in this episode because
oh my god,
she's just so pretty in that white dress and with her hair done. I don't know, dude.
Something about her. She's obviously like an insanely good looking like Hollywood actress, but I don't know, something about her. It just says dude, it just feels like she's a villain to me.
Webheads, John texted me this week and he said, can't wait for our new favorite segment. Why don't I trust this therapist?
I actually think I said, why don't I trust this woman? But that might be a little too hard. But, okay. Here are some of her lines that I really didn't like. I saved me. When she's when Charlie Cox is like, well, you know, I don't think you can put Muse and Daredevil in the same breath. Like, Muse was trying to kill you and Daredevil saved you. And she said, I saved me. Boy, if she's going to pretend to be a therapist, I'm going to pretend to be one too and say that's a surefire sign of narcissistic personality disorder because she did not save herself there. Daredevil 100% saved her. So she needs to go to therapy about this. Okay. What, you didn't have any thoughts of that? I think they were trying to make us not like her. So it's surprising that you left this episode with a different thought.
No, I'm totally kidding, right? Like she can be simultaneously
she's very pretty.
Very pretty and also very
she's
annoying.
Very pretty. She's got a jawline as sharp as as a Cutco knife, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I don't know, between this and between her and She-Hulk, Daredevil's been having a pretty good couple years of
the guy is a stud. And Karen before that.
Well, and did they ever actually do anything?
Yeah, I think they hooked up.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe not. I think so, though.
They should, because they were like, in the comics, you know, they're like a couple.
I'm thinking season 2, she's going to come back. We're going to kick this therapist to the curb, I think, pretty soon.
I need some Karen in my life.
Yeah. You want to watch your tone when Matt is not raising his voice at all? He's like, Kingpin is dangerous. You shouldn't have him in your life. You want to watch your tone? Dude, oh my gosh. I'm like getting flashbacks to... Anyway. It's just gaslighting, right? You're starting to worry me on a professional level. We talked about that last week, but I don't really like when your therapist girlfriend starts giving you therapy speak or you're starting to worry me on a professional level. That just feels slimy for a professional psychiatrist or therapist to say to their partner.
Yeah. Well, I hope she's happy now that he's shot in the chest and was right about everything.
Yeah, for real. Well, at some point, yeah, they're all just boys. They're all just boys who haven't grown up and have like a boy complex or something. When she's talking about the vigilantes and, what'd she say? She's like, Fisk is just trying to get rid of vigilantes. And if he does that, he's got my vote. Boy, that really pisses me off because it shouldn't be a secret in this universe that Kingpin did go away to jail. And your boyfriend, Matthew Murdock, was the lawyer that put him away. It's so f***ed up for her to be like taking Kingpin's side on this when Matt has such a close relationship that she should know about to Kingpin, not as Daredevil, but as Matthew Murdock, the lawyer, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It feels like she's kind of being mean to Matt just for the sake of being mean. Like sometimes, Zach, sometimes women and men will disagree with their partner just for the sake of disagreeing with them, even if they might be right. it's just like sometimes you just want to play devil's advocate with your partner. And that feels like what she's doing to me. Anything Matt could say to her, she would be on the opposite side and she would give him some attitude about it.
John, I'm just imagining podcasters 10 years ago saying the same things about Skylar White. This feels very much like a Skylar White criticism. You know how she's like the most hated woman in film?
Yeah, but that's like messed up that she got that hate because it was her husband who's gaslighting her about everything, right?
Yeah.
But now Matt is right about everything, and
this is different. This woman deserves it.
I'm just saying, and you said it right. Matt is right about everything, and she is like, and she is not only disagreeing with him, but she's like disagreeing with him pretty strongly about it, and she's kind of insulting him while she's disagreeing about it.
Yeah, you're right. Here's where I land. I don't love her. I don't want her to be like his end game, right? I want this to not work and then him to go back to Karen or find someone else.
I think Karen has to show up in season 2.
I'm giving this therapist a little bit of slack just on the assumption that she doesn't know the full story, right? She doesn't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see what you're saying. And she's like toxic in some of these ways, but
Zach, we love a pretty toxic girl. We've talked about it.
Dude, it's a weakness. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I think she's like regular people toxic, right? She's not like villainous level toxic yet.
Yeah. I mean, she did give therapy to Muse, and then he went on a killing spree, and she gave therapy to Vanessa, and then she shot that dude in the head. So
yeah, she might
be a bad therapist.
Yeah, she probably should have chose a different profession.
Okay. Before we get to the ballroom stuff, the other thing I really wanted to make a note on is Vincent D'Onofrio is doing some incredible acting in this episode. And the couple of scenes that I had to draw attention to were when he's talking with Vanessa and he shows her Adam and he's like, I am better than I was. I just love
I should get some credit here. I didn't immediately kill this guy.
He's got this like awesome tone where he's like a child showing his parents something he shouldn't have done, and he's like, it's just awesome.
Oh my god!
Adam,
I'm sorry. I loved the shot of the two of them like embracing and obviously like reconciling, and there's just the dead man in between them in the background, and it's like these people are both criminally insane in the same way, where they think they are the only ones that matter in this scene, and what is important is that they just worked through their marital problems, not that they just killed a man.
Each other. You know, I was a little bummed when right away we find out very quickly, like as the episode starts, like, oh, Vanessa and Kingpin were on the same page, because I was like, I don't want to see Vanessa make a play for the throne here. But they're made for each other now. You know, that scene, you're like, oh, they're perfect. And their scenes at the ballroom, you're like, dude, good. This is a good, relationship that they've got going on right now.
Yeah. This is a true folie à deux.
Yes.
The madness of two.
Yep. Oh, I've seen Joker.
Did you see You? Have you seen that show?
Some of it.
Like season 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Him in Love?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I love. Dude, my like fatal flaw is I think I could fix her.
I know you love a toxic pretty girl. Kingpin yelling shut up when Adam is begging for his life. One of my favorite parts of this episode. Because you're just listening to Adam beg, and I'm just waiting for Kingpin to scream at him, because I'm like, dude, you're saying too much here. You're begging too much. And then he finally just like explodes, and I'm like, thank you. And And then the other part where Kingpin is doing some awesome acting, specifically hand acting, when he comes out of the office after making a deal with some slimy guy, and he just rubs his belly. And then he sees Matthew Murdock approaching him, and he's like grabbing for his henchman, and he's doing this weird thing with his hand where he's like kind of pushing him. He's like kind of pulling him forward. He's like kind of telling him to get ready. And he's kind of saying like, no, stay back for a moment. Let's see. Yeah. Let's let this play out. It's just a perfect combination of what is his hand doing right now?
I'm not scared. You're scared. Yeah. I noticed that as well. I loved the parallelism of Dex in prison. Bullseye saying like a good man would save his mortal enemy.
Yep.
And it's so funny. It's like he's like, "Oh, sweetie, you think you're his mortal enemy?" And then it ends with him actually taking the bullet for Kingpin.
Yeah. It is.
That's the funniest you to Bullseye is like, yeah, you were right. You just overestimated your own importance in this story.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You know, in a different series, that speech would work on Daredevil, right? Like he would be like, and maybe it did work on him, right? He might have put that idea in his head enough that when he hears Bullseye about to shoot Kingpin, he goes and takes a bullet for him, you know? But God, that scene where Bullseye finally gets to him and he slams his head into the desk like 3 times and just bloodies up his face. And then he calls the cop in and he just started smashing his head against the table. And the police officer, without a moment's hesitation, just goes, "Crazy son of a bitch." Like, this is amazing. This is so great. They've been through this. That cop has been through this 100 times before. He knows exactly how to act. He's playing his part to perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Okay. The scene at the end where Kingpin starts talking to Daredevil, like whispering as they're dancing. That is one of the best scenes of the show when he's like whispering and he's like, "Devil, did you expect there'd be no consequences?" It's just great. And then Vanessa has something to tell him and Kingpin knows that Daredevil is listening and he's like, "Not here, not now." I think that's great. That's
how it should be. These guys are so like intimately acquainted with each other, but also hate each other so deeply, but they can't act out on it. So it's just, it's like 2 wildly smart dudes being as passive aggressive as they can.
I'm really excited for this next episode on Tuesday. I think we might get the Punisher back because there's been some scenes in the trailers with him that we just haven't seen yet.
I am eager to see what's going on with BB Urich, who had a good little conversation with the commissioner. We see that she is smarter than she's let on.
What an awesome episode for her. Just like totally redeems her character throughout this like season. It's like, oh yes. I love that. Like it like just gives her such a different layer that we could go back and think about her scenes. And, you know, we just get a whole new understanding of her, you know, because for a second I did kind of think, oh, maybe she's just going to become another pawn for Kingpin and James Gandolfini's son.
Yeah, it sucks so bad that like we don't get a Ben Urich in the MCU because Kingpin already killed him. But it's clear now that she is going to fill that role.
Which she's doing well. I like it. That scene of her with the police commissioner was great.
Yes. And James Gandolfini, his character,
his son.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So the kid basically that becomes like the deputy
He's
mayor.
Growing on me a little bit too.
There's something going on with him. He is going to have a bigger role to play either in the finale or in the next season.
Well, he'll definitely burn something down, I think, because he specifically says to Kingpin, "I will burn for you." So I think they're going to have him burn something down.
He's the patsy.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know
Kingpin
if he'll
says,
be the,
I know you will.
yeah. I don't know if he'll be the patsy because I think he might just become Kingpin's like guy, you know?
He seems to think he's about to be.
Yeah. You know,
but he also seemed kind of self-destructive when he's like, he says something like, I'm on this train and I'm just going to ride it until it goes off the rails or something. Like,
yeah.
He knows he's flying too close to the
I guess
sun.
it wouldn't be surprising at all if Kingpin ends up pinning some stuff on him. Like, that wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah. If it's between him or Vanessa going down, or this kid and his like other political aide going down, he is 100% going to pin it on them.
Well, it wouldn't even be surprising if he's had something planned since the beginning of the show. Ever since he met this kid, he's probably been like, this guy's in my, you know, he's the Kingpin. He doesn't care about this kid at all, right?
I'd almost like that better.
Me too.
Just playing the long game.
Definitely. Dude, such a good one. I mean, I'm sure I've forgotten about things that I like wanted to mention, but really good. The corrupt cops putting that guy's hand in the deep fryer. Oh my God. That just made me like visibly like, man, that hurts so badly.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That hurt me. Else?
Well, I was just, I mean, I don't know. I could tell a story about when I got burned by a deep fryer, but
as you should.
Interesting.
Okay.
I was just in college and I was working a job at a crispy crunchy chicken, and some asshole pulled the things out of the deep fryer and then whirled around without looking where he was going.
Oh my gosh, what a dumbass.
He got me right against the arm. And
Do you still have like marks?
I don't now, but dude, it was like burnt red, and it was a like crisscross grid from the basket for like a week.
Oh gosh.
I can't imagine actually having your whole hand in there.
Yeah. He's going to have a hard time wiping his ass for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
That's what the cop said, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I was just, for any listeners, that wasn't what my first thought was.
Dude, that reference was off the hook.
Thanks, man. My references are crazy. I don't have anything else about Daredevil. I'm so excited. I was so pumped when the episode ended, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait for season 2. And then I found out there was another episode that was going to be the next week. I was just so excited for it.
That's great.
Yeah. What else do we have? There's no other TV shows. That's it. See, there's not that many. I'll watch Doctor Who by next week, so I can tell you if it's good or not.
Yeah.
I'd be psyched if it was. I'd be so happy.
Me and Shiloh,
make my day.
Me and Shiloh are still watching The Wheel of Time. We're enjoying that. I know you don't watch it. It's good.
That sounds like an interesting. Weren't you telling me about that? That has something to do with like time travel, or
it's not
going
time
into
travel.
Like other bodies or something.
Yeah. So, people get reincarnated, right? And time is like circular, but it's so big and so long that it's like, entire societies will crumble, and we will forget and unlearn like certain technologies, and they'll just all erode. And it's like in the far future, we'll be back to the Middle Ages kind of thing. And it's like, there's been different ages where, first people had, technology, and then they learned science, and they had science and technology. And then there's some catastrophe and they forget science.
And then there's nuclear holocaust, and then it all like resets. And then...
Yeah. Did I say science? I meant magic. It's like they pair magic with technology, and then they lose it all, and they just have magic. So it's like fantasy, right? There's like wizards and but it's like theoretically in both the far future and the far past of our real world.
Cool. That sounds very cool.
Yeah.
How many seasons are there of that? And where is it?
We're in the 3rd season. It's on Amazon Prime. It's based off of a book series. It's like one of the last great fantasy series that hasn't been adapted, right?
This is worth checking out, I think. This sounds good. You've caught me a lot more with this than you have with Evangelion.
Crazy. I promise you, Evangelion is far and away the better show, but Wheel of Time is also one of my favorites.
All right. What's our jam of the week?
I will say, in honor of Kitty Pryde being a scene kid. It's going to be Stick Stickly by Attack Attack.
Which I listened when Zach had to take a quick 5-minute break earlier in our pod. That's what I listened to. And it was a pretty good one.
All the kids in that band went on to form way more successful bands. Like, they are like millionaire musicians at this point.
Well, you know what I thought as I was watching that music video? Is this the same person that they've just digitally put in to play every instrument?
Oh, because it all looks the same.
They're all dressed the exact same. They all have the exact same hair. And then it made me think of the funny, there's a funny South Park episode where Stan wants to become a goth kid. And he's like, you can be a goth kid. You just have to not like go against society and not go with anything and dress the exact same way as all of us. And it's like, that's funny because they are all dressed the same way.
Right. Did you notice how absurdly low they were side squatting as they played their guitars?
I actually did kind of notice that.
So that started a trend called crabcore, where they say you're standing like a crab when you play your guitar like that.
All right, that's a good jam of the week. Attack Attack, Stick Stickly. Is that what all of their songs are? They all doubles, like Attack Attack, Stick Stickly?
No, Stick Stickly is the name of like a Cartoon Network short.
Very cool. All right. No one wants to be my friend. They think I am unstable. That's always at the top of that's been included into the top of my copy and paste for our, for my outro.
Keep it in.
Thank you to Ian Hickey for our music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And thank you all for listening and leaving us a review. We really appreciate it. You can find us, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can come and chat with us and leave us a message on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. See you next week, webheads.
See ya.